Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I've got the pleasure of introducing you to one of the most inspiring women I've ever met. She's faced cultural barriers, gender discrimination, and relationship trauma. And yet, her resolve is one of the strongest that I've ever seen. And she's got an infectious smile. Please welcome Aziza Sultana in an episode I've called Don't Be Afraid to Ask. A little bit about who you are and what you do.
If we're truly lawyers, I'm a nerd.
Wasn't very planned.
Who are you?
That's a big question, Zach.
Put this in a too hard basket.
I swear a bit.
Why do you think everybody hates lawyers?
Lawyers out there, if you're listening,
There's no work-life balance.
But I have faith.
Aziza Sultana, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Zach, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here in your Unsolicited Advice podcast.
Well, your experience is a little bit different than a couple of the guests we've had so far. So I think that might be an interesting way to start our conversation. Do you mind giving us a brief summary of what your legal career has been like and where it is currently?
Well, that's a long story, but I think throughout our conversation, we'll get through it, a summary of a gist of it. So I can say my name is Aziza Sultana. I am originally from Bangladesh. I can call myself a transitioning lawyer because the legal journey has taken me to 3 different jurisdictions. Bangladesh, the United Kingdom, and currently in Australia. So at the moment, I'm pursuing my postgrad in Juris Doctor and Practical Legal Training from the University of Technology, Sydney. And this course is for me to transition myself into a practicing solicitor in Australia and get my practicing license. And earlier to that, I graduated from the University of Sydney for my Master of Laws. So I just attended my graduation ceremony 2 weeks ago. That's something exciting news to share. And prior to that, that's like a long story how I would start. So my journey towards legal study started from A-levels. I chose law as a subject of my A-levels. And I was quite keen towards studying law as a child, kind of because the complexity and the challenging nature of the subject kind of drew my attention towards the subject and how it can give someone the voice to talk and fight back. And like watching the shows in the TV, I think most of us kind of got interested in studying law, watching all the dramas on TV. But when we study and come to the practice, that's when we know, hey, it's not like Suits. Because that's one of the most asked question that, I saw Suits. So that's how it goes? And it's like, I'm sorry to break the bubble, but that's not how it is in practice. But that's kind of like during the childhood time from school, whenever I'll be asked, what would you like to become when you grow up? I'll always be like, I want to become a lawyer. And then after my levels, I did a diploma in law. And started my Bachelor of Law under the University of London International Programs. So
that's still in Bangladesh, even though it's University of London.
Yeah, that's like an international program for international students, while it's under the exams and the studies are all done through University of London under their international program curriculum. So here comes the a big bit. I can say like a bit of tragic or sad or like a very common story that happens in the South Asian countries. The opportunity to go outside to study, the accessibility of higher education in a foreign country, which is often very accessible to boys or the male parts of our country or the society compared to the female. So they often wouldn't get that opportunity to, like, it's not an easily accessible path or like a common idea to think that you go outside abroad to study or pursue further education. So for me, it happened the same way. Although, like, I grew up in a very traditional but progressive family as well, in an extended big family. But fortunately, my parents were very progressive minded, and they understood the importance of education. So they always encouraged to study more and like be good at studies and like how it impacts your life if you don't study. So that's like, I'll say, like, I'll give that credit to my parents, where they always encouraged to study. However, like the demise of my father before me turning the age of 11 kind of like made a drastic change in our family, financially and emotionally. So it like made a lot of differences in our lives, me alongside my siblings. So we all were very young, and it just happened out of nowhere. None of us were prepared. So at that time, it was my mother who I'll say like is a hero to me, who took the stand and who stood for me and three of my siblings, and decided that no matter what happens, like, she'll ensure that we get the best of our education. She sold many of her valuables or ancestral properties to ensure that me and my siblings, they all get to study. So one thing she ensured, that no matter what, like, we are getting study. She always said one thing, that no matter what happens, just like, your studies shouldn't stop. So even till date, my mom, I will say, is one of my most I'll say cheerleaders. Who always is like, I'm just like, this is like my third postgrad degree, and everyone's asking me, when are you gonna stop? But my mom still wants me to, like, I want to see my daughter doing a PhD. And like, there's no stop to studies. You can always, there's no age limit, you can always study. So even though my mother herself didn't get the chance to study much after she got married at a very young age, she ensured that we get the best of education. So that's one thing. And like, after my father's demise, as I said, it was like a very emotional and financial situation for my family. My brother's also a lawyer. He studied from the UK. He's a barrister of England and Wales, and advocate lawyer of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. So when my father passed away, my brother became like the father figure for my family. And like, I'll say, alongside my mother, my siblings also made a lot of sacrifices for me to be where I am today. Because my brother was like, he would have pursued his master's after he finished his bar at law, but he couldn't, because of like, he had to take our responsibilities as he's the eldest one. And that's how the patriarchal society works out. And we were very young. And that's when my brother's like, he always told me that I couldn't pursue a master's degree, but it is my dream that I get to see you to achieve your goals, and you do the masters. I want to ensure that no matter what, you do your masters. And also, so my brother couldn't do it, but he ensured that he supported me throughout, that I get to go there. And he's very proud of me to see where I am when I graduated. And my elder sister, she never got the opportunity to study abroad, but she's one of my like biggest supporters. She's like, even though she didn't get the chance, she always encourages me to go forward and get into all the opportunities I can grab into. And that's where I will say, then that comes me. I'm the first female or a girl from both sides of the family to pursue, like, kind of break the barrier and pursue education outside of Bangladesh in a foreign country, and also become the first lawyer or barrister of my family, or in the extended family as well, from both the maternal and paternal side. And also, I'm still continuing my studies. So I see now that I have broken that barrier. My younger sister could study from her first year of bachelor's from a foreign country. She's studying at the moment at University of Melbourne. So that's like, I'll see that as an achievement of mine. The fact that I
You've led
took
the
that
way
step,
in some,
and now that, like, other persons, other girls in my family, and other of my cousins and everyone, they also look up after me. That they would also like to like how to go about it, or would come to me how to apply to universities, and would consider me. They wouldn't see that, okay, now that I'm a girl, they wouldn't come to me and ask, like, I wouldn't know any better. They wouldn't think like that. Now that like I have proved myself through my results and achievements, they would consider me no less. But the fact that it's a shame that unless you prove yourself or you show your worth, you're not regarded in the same scale or same degree as how your male counterpart is looked after. So that's like the saddest part. So yeah. So for my final year, I kind of like, yeah, it's just a big story.
Well, if I might jump in on that point, I'm sort of curious to ask. You said that you were very blessed to sort of have very supportive parents, particularly your mother after your father had passed, and all your siblings were really supportive of you. It seemed that within your family unit itself, there was a lot of support for your education, but you said that generally in Bangladesh, it can be a bit harder for a woman to sort of take on further studies or try to pursue her career. I was wondering, whereabouts do you sort of feel that within society? Is that like legally imposed, or is that more of a sort of cultural feeling?
I would say it's more of a tradition or culture or a societal belief that girls should be married off at an earlier age. That's where it comes to early marriage laws, and that has been going on in the Southeast Asian parts, not just in Bangladesh, in India, Pakistan, and certain other parts of the Asian countries, specifically Southeast Asian countries, that has been going on, that child labor, child marriage, especially for the females, or young child abduction or selling them off to foreign countries, these kind of criminal offenses kind of take place. It's because of like the economical, geopolitical situations as well. And often that girls are not looked as a matter of pride as boys are. That's another mindset of many people in of the South Asian society or tradition. Like, it's a very sad thought that it is considered that a boy or a male is the one who takes the family, is the future of the family. So they take the family and the name of the family further. But if a female is born, they are gonna get married and they are gonna go to another family. So they're not preferred, or they're not the torch bearers of the families. So sadly, the education of girls or females is kind of frowned upon. As soon as they are of a certain age, it's like the families would like them to get married off, because they think that if they're not married, they don't get married in a certain age, it might get difficult because of like the social concerns and what would happen because of this family's reputation as well. They don't want to take that risk, and they don't want to get into like the social controversies, that what will people say, that why isn't your daughter married yet, she's getting old. So this is kind of like, if you are still studying but and not like you're doing your undergrad or master, people would start thinking you're not gonna get a guy for your daughter. So it's, unless you have a supportive family and parents who would support your education, it gets very difficult for girls to fight that battle or break that barrier and come forward.
Do you remember feeling that pressure at all when you're in Bangladesh? Like, do you have any memories of things that people said, or just any particular experiences that were quite challenging to overcome?
Well, yes, of course I did, because like my brother was studying in the United Kingdom for his Bachelor of Laws from the first year. And I also wanted to study law as he's studying law.
Yeah.
So I thought like I'll start, but because of like how things turned out in my family, my father passed away, and it's just 3 of us, the daughters. So there's like a lot of pressure on my mother that like how do you then we all were very young, so how do I go? I wanted to go for my first year. I tried, but then my mom was not very, because I don't blame her, because she didn't know any better. That's how she has seen. She didn't have the support as well to tell her that it's okay for to let go of your daughter to a foreign country, because they're often scared. What if something happens in the country? Who would be held accountable for it? And all the blame would come on her, considering my father is not there. So that's like another, like, how could you let your daughter go outside of the country? And she's not married off. How can she like go outside of a country without a male, like, you know, family member? So there's some kind of religious mindset as well, so that like a girl shouldn't be like going to a foreign country without having a male family member. So all those kind of things came out. So I wanted to go for my first year of my law or second year, but I wasn't allowed, or I couldn't, well, for whatever reason. But I would say like it was more of like, since I can study from Bangladesh, why do I need to go abroad? So in my final year, I kind of secretly applied to the university, and like I got an offer letter and a partial scholarship. And then I informed my mother and my brother, and then they were kind of like shocked. And then my mother didn't have much to say. Both my elder siblings, they kind of supported me and tried to explain my mother that it's a great opportunity. You should really let her go. So I'll say that that was like the turning point of my life. My mom, I don't know, like she has been like, since my father passed away, she has been like holding the anchor of our family, and for the, like, she has made enormous sacrifices for the four of us siblings, and till date she still continues to do it. And yeah, that's the first time I got my chance. I got my, I would say, the independence or liberty to fly. And like it was like a big win for me that finally I got the opportunity to go to the United Kingdom to pursue my final year of Bachelor of Laws. That's like the third year. So I went to the University of West of England in Bristol. And I finished my bachelor's, followed by my bar professional legal training. It's the postgrad degree. So that's back in 2018. And I was called to the Bar of England and Wales by the Honourable Society of Lincoln Inn. So that's like I become a barrister of England and Wales. That's like another milestone in the family. Second barrister in the family, the brother and the sister. So again, like a big thing for the family.
It's a really beautiful story, that one. The fact that it sounds like your mother is truly so brave and strong in holding the family together. But also the fact that you did your first 2 years of law in Bangladesh despite wanting to leave, and by your final year, putting your foot down and saying, you know what, this is something I really want, and overcoming that resistance. It's quite fascinating to hear. A lot of people who find success in life usually have moments like that, where so much of their world is telling them not to do something, but they just have a burning desire to do it anyway. So who knows, maybe in 20, 30 years, you might look back at, that was my moment. That's the moment when it would have been so easy to say no, but I did it anyway, and this is what my world
there was just something in me that I really wanted to pursue law. I wanted to become a barrister. I wanted to practice law, and, you know, go to the court and do the arguments. And it's just like, as you said, like this, just something just got into me, and I really wanted to pursue it. That becoming a barrister became kind of like a, you know, what's the aim in your life? In high school, we often get this like comprehension to write. So that was something like, what's the aim in life? That kind of becoming a lawyer, becoming a barrister, it kind of became the aim of my life that I really want to pursue. So pursuing my final year of studies in the UK from UWE Bristol, I got great results, and that enabled me to get into the top bar school in UK.
Yeah.
So that was like I didn't have to wait, and then like I passed my exams in one go because like the bar exam is quite difficult to pass, but like by my mother's prayers and God's grace and family support, somehow I made
And
it at the first go.
and your own exceptional work, I imagine, as well. I've noticed
Hopefully.
I've noticed in this conversation so far, it's beautiful, but you defer so much to people around you when you talk about what goes well in your life, which is a great thing. I don't want to detract from that, but it's also good to remind ourselves that you're also
Yeah.
doing incredible things as well.
Yeah, thanks for reminding that. Yeah, that's another topic that that's another subject that I really need to work on is self-gratitude and self-care. We often tend to, or like being the person I am, I tend to give more credit to people or appreciate people more, but then I don't appreciate myself enough. But doing that, I think I kind of drain myself in the process. But I think it's very important that before trying to like pour water into a glass, the jar needs to be full in itself as well. So I need to be thankful and I need to be grateful about all the achievements I have got, and that's where everyone should be. That's something I'm a true believer and advocate of, like appreciation and gratitude, that you should always be content and humble about your achievements, and that kind of gives you a push to move forward in your everyday life work.
Yeah, it is such a fickle balance, though, in that sense that it's, as we said, it's so beautiful that you do defer to other people so much, but then too much of that can deprive yourself of self-love. But then on the other hand, if you pour too much self-love, that's when you flirt with arrogance and overconfidence.
True.
It's this never-ending balance that we're probably never going to nail. We're probably always going to be giving a little too much or taking in a little too much. It's just that lifelong seesaw that we're constantly trying
That's a
to.
very interesting point that you have caught up on. True that. It's like making the balance between, that's true. And I have seen that in many of my friends coming through who became lawyers or barristers. Getting a foreign degree makes a big difference in your life. Like you spending 3 or 4 years of your life studying abroad, and when you're returning to your home country, you become a complete different person. It's like
Got a new
you
suit
just-
and some
that
shiny
arrogant-
boots.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens quite a lot. And yeah.
Well, how about we talk about the bar experience, and then maybe we come back to Bangladesh and hear about all the foreign students who come back to their home with a lot of swagger. Let's talk about the bar experience itself, because this is, from my observations in Australia, how Australia and the UK treat the bar quite differently. So you went straight from your bachelor's degree to the bar. Tell me about that.
Since I studied under the University of London, I was studying under the British curriculum. So I was already studying the British law. So in that way, I was already qualified or eligible to sit for the bar exam, or if I want to become a solicitor in the UK. So I chose the bar because that something is more regarded as a more reputed title. Like when you have the title barrister in front of your name, you're regarded as a big shot in my country, or it's a matter of pride, or you get more clientele, or you get like more recruitment, employability opportunities become more available to you. So that's like a pattern I kind of followed as well, until I went to the actual bar and like saw for myself, like, okay, it's probably not that worth all the money and all the effort that you have to put in. Because like now that I see myself, how things could have been different if I had knew like certain things beforehand that I know now after doing all that, then that would have made like, I probably, if I could go back and make some changes, I would definitely make some changes. But coming back to your questions, to the bar course, it was an extremely intensive course, but the bar course kind of taught me not just like the legal experiences and the professionalism or the ethics. It taught me a great amount of discipline, and it taught me how to argue better. It taught me how to put yourself into a room full of people or talk to someone when you have to, like, you really don't know someone and you can't be like feeling shy and you have to go walk into a room full of people whom you have never seen. There are judges, there are lawyers, barristers, all in their suits and already all very serious looking people. And coming from Bangladesh all of a sudden and not having this kind of environment or circle, it was very, I will say, initially it was quite difficult, but throughout the course, as time was passing, that gave me a lot of confidence. It gave me a voice, actually. I used to be a very introverted person, but during the bar course, because I had to socialize and network a lot, so whenever we would have the events under the Honorable Society of Lincoln's Inn or of my universities where all the judges or the lawyers would come, or whenever I'm doing some volunteering work, I would have to talk. I think that's one thing about lawyers. You have to sell yourself and you have to talk and you have to talk and talk and talk. So in that way, from being an introvert, I have become an extrovert.
Wow.
And I have learned like so much of, and another thing I would say, I can say it as a skill, that ask people for opportunities. Always ask. What's the worst that could come out of it? Like a rejection, but being able to handle a rejection in itself is another skill. So I'll say I would approach the lawyers or judges and ask them directly, hey, I am studying this. Is there any opportunity that I could work as a junior or as a paralegal, or I could assist you in some way? Can I get your email address? I'll shoot you an email. And sometimes they'll be like, sorry, you can look into the website and contact my secretary or the reception. And some of them would be very welcoming and give me opportunities. And by like learning that skill set, I'll say like there's no harm in asking. I asked few people and I got the opportunity of doing 2 mini pupilages, one with QC, but now I think it's the King's Counsel KC. He was a criminal barrister, a silk, and I work with him as a mini pupil. So I got the experience to work with a criminal lawyer, see the criminal trial, how the criminal legal system works in the United Kingdom. And another one was with another prominent family barrister. So I got to experience how the family law experience in itself works, like especially handling it's like criminal law and family law are completely different sides of law, all very related to, like, there's so much human contact, and you're just sitting on the other side, and you have to see the case not from an emotional perspective but from a lawyer's perspective. And I would say it's kind of, while practicing family, it's kind of emotionally challenging as well, because you get to see so many family related matters, and at some point it kind of takes on to you and your mental health as well. And I had another great opportunity that I must mention is I got the chance to marshal with a judge in the Refugee and Asylum Tribunal. So that was another great opportunity to see the experience, the life of the judge, where you can see, like, you're not the lawyer, you're sitting on the other side of the table from the top, and you see the lawyers argue their cases. So that's like watching the legal system from the upper floor, and how the lawyers do their work. And I would say, like, okay, I still want to be a lawyer.
A couple little terminology questions I might ask you. Pupilages and marshalling, they're not words we commonly use in the Australian law system. Do you mind explaining briefly what being a pupil and being a marshal is?
So these are very common terms used in the United Kingdom, and I would say also in Bangladesh. So pupillage is when you finish your solicitor exam or your bar exam. Officially, you have to work under a senior lawyer as a pupil for 12 months. So that's like, and then you can have your own practice. That's like the official way. And the mini pupillage is a shorter course, which could be from three months to 6 months or a couple of weeks, depending on the tenure or the contract you form with the lawyer or how it goes on. So when pupillage is the official version, when you do, after you become a solicitor or a barrister, to pursue your legal career in the United Kingdom, you have to go through the official pupillage course. And you have to do it for a certain amount of time, and then you can have the access to further practice as a lawyer. And the mini pupillage is the shorter version. So it doesn't let you become a lawyer in itself, even if you're a lawyer in the United Kingdom, but you'll still have to do a full pupillage. That's like a 12-month course. The mini pupillage is the shorter version. Since I was an international student, that wasn't an option for me, so I went for the shorter version. And marshalling is usually when you're basically shadowing a judge. You spend the entire time with the judge from the morning to the end of the, it's like if the judge arrives at the court at 8 a.m., you are there at 8 a.m. till the end of the day. You're following the judge everywhere. You're having lunch with all the judges. You're sitting with the judge in his room and see what is he thinking, how is he writing his judgment, how is he delivering the judgment. And you're also sitting beside the judge in the courtroom and seeing the court proceedings where both sides of the plaintiff and the defendant both are there and both side lawyers are there. You're just literally sitting beside the judge, as you can't be calling yourself a junior judge, but like I guess
You need a special word.
but it's like an honor to be able to do the marshalling. And I was looking forward, like, okay, what if in Australia, I even spoke to some judges, like, do you have any marshalling opportunities? Like, what is that? So I thought, like, okay, that's something not very common in Australia.
But as you said, you asked and they said no, and that's the worst that can happen.
Yeah,
Nothing
they're
goes
not
wrong.
aware of it. So like, okay, so it's a different country, they must have something different, like tip staff.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't know until I came to Australia. So that's like another terminology.
And briefly, before we move on from your period in the UK, you said you worked a little bit in criminal, family law, and migration law.
Migration law was with the judge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Were any of those areas particularly interesting in the sense that did you consider that any of them might be a pathway for you in the future?
So as I was planning to head back to my home country, Bangladesh, and practice there, criminal practice was not an option for me again, because like being a female, it's usually not, it's like a frowned upon practice of law.
Because it's like taboo and it's
the
messy.
taboo and it is the messy, like you have to go to these places. So usually there aren't many chambers that would take on female lawyers, or it's not an option. I would say, like, I didn't have the option to think I would be able to go somewhere toward a lawyer and then practice this. That doesn't mean that there aren't any criminal practicing female lawyer. There are, but it is not one of the most popular options for a female to pursue her career in the criminal law area. And also how in the westernized countries, the chambers or the lawyers specialize in one particular area of law, like either you're a criminal lawyer or you're a commercial lawyer. In Bangladesh, it's like one chamber. They are allowed, or they practice all areas of the law. So they can do criminal, they can do civil, property, company, anything, you name it, and they can. It's like a generalized practice there. So even if they're looking after the company commercial matters, they're also doing litigation. So even there's no differentiation between the litigation or the company corporate practice. So they do all of it.
Okay, and so I guess that's quite a good segue into moving back to Bangladesh then. So you finished up your studies in the UK. You did a little bit of work as a pupil and then as a marshal, and then you moved back to Bangladesh. Was that always on the agenda, or did an opportunity arise? What took you back to Bangladesh?
It was already like in my mind that I'll study, become a lawyer, and go back home and then like practice as a lawyer. As I said, like barristers are like looked into, they're like higher class people. They belong to a higher society. They're taken into like the tag or the name tag of like adding barristers, although officially in the United Kingdom or in any other country people wouldn't use that name barrister before their name, or they'll just call themselves as lawyers. But in Bangladesh people would like very happily use that, because
almost like doctor, like you'd say like on
I'm a
Barrister
doctor.
Sultana,
Yeah.
Dr. Sultana. Oh,
You got
interesting.
it.
I didn't know
So
that.
that's like how people would like to introduce themselves.
Wow.
But then like not everyone would do that. I would
Yeah.
find it quite embarrassing or like funny doing it. But then like at times you would have to introduce yourself, because like doctor, engineer, lawyer, these are very big professions considering in the society. All professions are big, but then people look into these professions from a different perspective. And like I think people of older generation, for them, like unless you have studied science, you're not a good student. Unless you know math, you're not a good student. So there's all these taboos around this, and like having a female lawyer, they kind of get impressed. And if you have done your bar, then it's another thing that you like, you become like a very big thing in the society or in front of people. So that's something, people like to talk about.
So you transitioned back into Bangladesh, and tell me what it was like working in Bangladesh. So you'd finish your studies. What was it like actually commencing your career?
So I was called to the Bar of England and Wales in 2018. Until the end of 2018, I was in the UK doing the mini pupilages and the marshalling. I went back in 2019 and I joined and worked with two big, very renowned law firms in the country. And I was very excited. I learned numerous like valuable skills. At the beginning, the excitement is there. Like I joined in as a as a lawyer, I'm a lawyer. But then when you get into the law firm, hey, you're the junior, you get to do the photocopies, you get to do the printers. But that's not like, it's okay. That's again another skill. You learn how to use a machine. So I'll never say bad. But then sometimes it becomes like, what's the saddest part is like, it becomes like a pattern, that lack of getting mentorship or lack of financial progression in terms, because it's often taken like junior lawyers are always trained as of more of like, you're learning the work, so you're actually getting something from us instead of you will get something in return from us. So you don't actually get paid. So it's more almost like long hours, 6 days of work. And that's how it has been going on for decades. And since it has been going on for decades, you don't have a say in this area that, okay, who do I complain to?
Yeah.
Because that's how the system has been built.
And that's how we did it. So you have to do it
You
as
have
well.
to do it in the same way. So there's like that is the difficult part, that even after graduating and giving long hours of your life, and the prime years of your life, and then there's no financial gain. Like you need something for at least for your transportation or cover your food or the basic necessities. Forget about getting something extra. But that's like one of the things where most of the young lawyers who would start the profession in my country, in Bangladesh, they get, unless they have a family support, it gets really difficult that they are working in the law firms for 5 to 6 days from the very early morning to the night, but they're not getting paid, or they're underpaid
Yeah.
and overworked. and there's no work-life balance. I mean, that doesn't even exist.
As a term, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't even exist. Life, what is that? Like, you'll be told, forget about everything. This is your life. If you want to become a lawyer, if you want to be in the profession, then you have to forget about everything else and just focus on your legal practice and career. And you have to give into this if you want to succeed and if you want to practice. And there's no other way going forward.
And I can imagine that really excludes a lot of people from law in the first place, because if you're coming from a family that is sort of struggling day to day, week to week, they need you earning money straight away. So
absolutely,
I imagine typically lawyers are probably people who are coming from quite well-off families who can last a couple years without getting paid with the support.
Yeah, so where like if there's like the family has spent already from a middle class or a lower income family, the family has spent a lot of money on educating the child, and now it's like it's a graduate like for 1 year, 2 years, for how many years are you gonna wait? And there's like another barrier of like you have to pass the legal exams of the courts, you have to pass the advocacy exams of the courts. So there comes another hurdle that until you pass those exams, you're basically a newbie, and like you're not allowed to get assigned to certain kind of projects or cases. So they wouldn't look into you as favorably as they would have if you had already become a lawyer, if you had taken the exam. But then again, because of the political situations, often the exams don't take place on time. So there's like a exam gap for like 3 years, 4 years. So you pass this year, but the exam hasn't taken in 3 to 4 years. So there's like a long wait for you to sit for the exam, and that builds into a lot of frustration. And even when the exam comes, they make it so hard to pass that you don't get to pass. So like you have to wait for another year. And when you fail the exam, the shame and the stigma that they would like put into you, that's like, you know, next day you wouldn't even feel like coming into the law chambers and like how do I even show my face in front of everyone after like doing like, it's like a shameful act. You have failed the exam, that's like the end of your life. So that's how you're made to feel. That's like the harshest and saddest reality in the practice for like, in my countries. But although like I'll say like Bangladesh has given rise to many great lawyers, justices, women advocates, activists, but that's like a few. But in terms of coming to the general people, unless you have a family backing of like the financial support, or you belong to a family where your father is a judge or a lawyer where you already have established law practice, it becomes really difficult for you to survive as a young, fresh graduate lawyer.
And is this primarily the reason why you did decide to take the leap and come to Australia to study?
It is amongst one of the reasons, yes. And I would say like, as I earlier mentioned, that you need that financial backing from the family, or you need to have a background in the legal system, that like you have a support system in the legal arena that would help you, like that's like the first step for you to move on. And then I would say there, in terms of the discrimination in terms of female and male lawyers, I have faced it, although the discrimination is always not very direct, but sometimes it's very direct. It's like express discrimination and there's implied discrimination.
You get both.
So it's like how you take it. And it's like while I was working in the law firms, you know, doing the long hours, it's not often like very taken very nicely by the families of the females, because you're coming home so late at night, at 12 or 1 a.m. at night. And then like, what would the society say? What would the people say? And you're getting a side eye that like in a chamber full of like 10 lawyers, there's only one female lawyer. So there's the discrimination. If there's like one male and 10 female lawyers, they would never put a finger on the male lawyer. But if there's one female lawyer among 10 men lawyers, then there's a raised eyebrow amongst that female lawyer that there must be something wrong or she must be doing something. And
God forbid she get a promotion, then what are
yeah,
they going
and
to...
then that's like all that kind of thing. It's just sad that like even in the legal profession, which is supposed to protect our rights, and that gives us that paves our ways to seek our rights. Even in the profession in itself, there's so much stigma amongst us lawyers and our senior lawyers that we still have to fight that battle. And I feel this kind of discrimination is not just prevalent in the Asian countries. I'm sure it's everywhere, even although I haven't had the opportunity to work in I did the mini pupillage, but it was for a short span of time. So I would say I feel that even in the developed countries, women do still feel it till date in 2026 still face some kind of discrimination, and it still exists, that women get a raised eyebrow, that you get a promotion, how did you get to the top of the ladder? That kind of question always comes. So it's not only for the other corporate jobs, it comes in the legal profession as well. So it kind of build up, a lot of these things kind of built up to a frustration, and I just needed a new start. I needed to upgrade myself, academically, and I felt frustrated and suffocated that I'm not progressing anywhere for after working for almost 4 years, and there was COVID as well and work from home. So with all those things, I needed a fresh start. So I came to Australia. I started my master's at the University of Sydney, and from there to here, I'm doing a second postgrad. I'm doing the JD. So, yeah.
And tell me what your experience has been like in Australia. How was it adjusting to a new legal system and also just adjusting to a new country, a new culture? What has been your experience?
So I haven't had much of legal experience, very little. So I have done I have worked as a legal researcher with a solicitor from the Environmental Defender's Office. So in terms of the legal research, I think it's the same. You just have to do the research. And then I work as an intern currently I'm working as an intern with ActionAid Australia. So in terms of the legal compliances you have to maintain, they remain the same, whether it's in the UK, Bangladesh, or in Australia. So what I see that certain things, and also because they all follow the common law system, so there's some kind of similarities, and a lot of the laws is in Australia as well are based or from the British law. And same in Bangladesh as well. The law has been framed following the British law. So there's always that influence of the British law. So there are some similarities. But in terms of when I'm studying, the study is very different in terms of how I have to deliver, what is expected of me, how I have to write, how I have to, I can say the research is kind of same. It's a skill set you have learned, but in terms of how you have to deliver it and the way they are marked is very different in terms of when you're in Bangladesh as an international student, when you're a domestic student in the UK, and then when you're a domestic international student in Australia. So that's it's very, very different in terms of studies. But in terms of practice, there are similarities that you can match up. But at the end of the day, there are 3 different jurisdictions. The laws are different. And most importantly, you need 3 different practicing license to be able to practice in 3 different jurisdictions.
And I guess that leads me to this question. How have you felt personally having to start up from scratch again? Because I know that you started your studies in Bangladesh, then you moved to the UK, and now to Australia. How have you found having to start from scratch in new places?
It's always quite daunting, I'll say, but one thing that kind of keeps me going is like my passion and my desire to work as a lawyer. That's still there. So I feel like that doesn't let me give up so easily. So it's always very, there have been times I've been feeling down that I have to start from the scratch. I'm already a barrister in England and I have to start like I'm starting from the very, very bottom, like start studying contract law that I have studied 10 years ago. And I have to start with that. And then I have to think, okay, if I want to practice in Australia, that's another new area, like, or a new country that's like a fresh start. And with the family support, they have been amazingly supporting me that, like, I often want to give up. It's like, okay, I can come back to Bangladesh or go to UK. It's comparatively easier for me because I had a start there. But in Australia, I have to start from the scratch. But I think in terms of opportunities, there's great opportunities for females and the working conditions are better. I feel there's a great work-life balance in Australia, as I hear from people. You would be
A
able
new
to tell
term
better.
you've come across, work-life balance.
Yeah, that's something I hear about Australia, that there's a great work-life balance in Australia. So I think I look forward to that. And yeah, I look forward to the opportunities, as studying abroad has not just given me the freedom or independence, it has given me a voice. I got to discover myself as a new person and I got to prove myself, and now I have a say in things and I can like I feel stronger than I would have if I wouldn't have gotten these opportunities. And I feel it is so important for all person to be able to, I know there are financial things involved, but if there is an opportunity for you, girls should be given the opportunity to go out and study abroad and see the world. And also boys, girls and boys, everyone should be, irrespective of their gender, they should be given the opportunity to go to a foreign country and study, and not just study, but also look around and learn from everything. There's just so much to learn.
You've been immensely generous with your time tonight, so I don't want to take too much more of it from you, but there is something that I was hoping to talk to you about briefly here on the show. What initially put you on my radar initially is you made this LinkedIn post about when you graduated from your master's at University of Sydney, and you talked about some of the challenges and the struggles you had in your studies itself, but also in your life around the studies too. If you didn't mind at all, I'd love to unpack some of those, because I thought it was a really powerful post.
Thanks for asking that question. And I think through that post, you reached out to me. I'm grateful for that. I was quite surprised that, okay, that even my LinkedIn post, I can get to this. Okay, I get an opportunity to talk to someone about my life experience. But yeah, so during my master's, when I was studying at the University of Sydney, and doing my Master of Laws, I was in a abusive marriage and a coercive controlled relationship. It was a very toxic relationship, and I got into a cycle of I don't know how to put it. It's like a cycle that it's a vicious cycle that you can't get yourself out. Where I myself, being a lawyer, I helped many women working in the not-for-profit organizations. And even to tell my friends or people, whenever I'll see someone in that position, I'll always try to tell them that don't let anything get into your life. You should be thinking about yourself first. There should be your self-respect. And like me studying and working for women empowerment, girl education, I was there myself and like away from home. I couldn't recognize it myself, but I'm quite grateful that I have gotten a lot of support from the family and therapy help. I have got really good specialists, and the healthcare system in Australia has been very supportive. So help from my tutors, mentors, and also from the university has been great to continue my education, because there was this point like I didn't think I would be able to continue my education, and I was at the verge of giving up, but something just kept me, like I lost my self-confidence, and I just lost vision of my life that won't be able to do anything in my life, because my relationship, my ex-partner put me, this is the first time I'm talking about it in public. I think, like, yeah, in front of like a couple of people other than my counselor or my family, that bullying or looking down on me or saying harsh things, that kind of like I just thought I won't be able to make it. So that, like, and then that got me into PTSD or having agoraphobia or anxiety disorders, and that's something I never knew of before, because mental health is again a very big taboo or stigma in our countries, or even in the Western countries. People would ignore it. But being able to seek help, that you need help, that don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to go and think, like, don't think that, okay, if you share this, how you're gonna be judged. Of course you're gonna be judged. I have been judged heavily by even people, very educated people, and said many things, and it's a very big struggle to continue with these mental health difficulties and pursue your education, because balancing both the, like, a master's degree in one of the most, like, competitive universities in the country, and like I'm a foreign student, I have to maintain, and I'm on a scholarship, I have to maintain certain results, and I couldn't think of letting myself, I couldn't just give up. I think one thing that kept me going on is I did not give up, and I would say the same for everyone, whoever would be listening to this podcast, that don't give up, and ask for help when you need it, even when you think that you can't, like, that's like the end of everything, but there's still light at the end of the tunnel, and there's hope. So yeah, you should seek for help, definitely, and don't be ashamed to talk about if you're going through some if you're experiencing some kind of mental health problems, because I felt the same when that was like new to me. But when I talked about it to professionals and shared it with other people and learned from other people how they have felt, I could resonate it with them. And that kind of helped me calm down and give myself the assurance that, hey, I'm not the only person. I'm not going crazy. It's only normal. And here comes again gratitude and self-care. We all should be kind to ourselves, and not harsh, and give credit to ourselves for where we are and how far we have come. So yeah, pat on my shoulder for coming this far and making it this far, and making it today to your show.
I guess on that point, just one brief thing to wrap up that segment we just went down. If there was someone who was listening to this one day who did find themselves in a relationship where they were being manipulated or abused, what would you, I guess, briefly recommend they do? What do you think was the most helpful bit of advice that you could pass on?
I think recognizing that this is happening, because for me personally, like, knowing that this was happening, that realization was tough, and then accepting it that this has happened, that took the longest. And seeking help, it's, I think, like really important. Don't take it lightly. Be kind to yourself, and don't beat it up on yourself that why it happened to you, or don't start self-blaming. I myself have done that, but you gotta be kind to yourself, and you gotta tell yourself, like, someone told me that if this would have happened to your daughter or a younger self of yours, that's something like a very recent conversation. If the same what has happened to you, if you had if this had happened to your daughter or a younger person, what would you advise to that person? You would ask that person to be kind to themselves and say that, hey, it's okay, and it's okay to move on. Your life doesn't stop there. So don't let your past define your future, and don't give up.
And on a related point, on the topic of self-love and self-gratitude, what's something recently in your life that you are proud of yourself for and you've got some self-love for?
That's a very good question. For self-love, I'm thinking that's a very tough question to think self-love. Before I was coming to Australia, I think I went to get a massage for myself. That was like I have never did. I went to a Thai massaging parlor and I got a Thai massage. I think that was a treat for myself that I had never done. So that's something I can say.
That's awesome. As I said earlier, you've been immensely generous with your time, so I won't take too much more of it after I ask the question that I ask all the guests on our show. Aziza, why do you think everybody hates lawyers?
That's a very interesting question. Okay, I think hate is a too strong of a word to use, and that's something I always say. I think dislike would be a more appropriate word. Whenever people are meeting lawyers, they are having some kind of conflict or disruption in their life. So either it's a divorce or a family property matter, or there's someone is going bankrupt, or they want to open a company, or this is always, or there's like some criminal offense happening. So it's always some kind of conflict, pain, or a grievance situation. And when at that moment they go to the lawyers and the lawyers are treating them as clients, they kind of feel that lawyers are not human and they can't see beyond the file. And also because of the timing that they're going to, because lawyers are professionals, they have to maintain their profession. There are some lawyer ethics that you cannot be crossing. So not everyone would understand that. So you have to be kind and compassionate to your client, but you have to maintain that professionalism as well. So we as lawyers have our professional course of conduct and the ethics that we study during our exams or our bar. So that's one thing that the clients or a normal person would fail to understand. And for lawyers, from being a lawyer's perspective, it's an everyday thing for them. So whenever a divorce matter or a child custody matter or a family dispute would come to a lawyer, it's a thing that they do on a daily basis. It's nothing new to them. But when the client comes to them for the first time, it's their first time. So they expect some kind of compassion or more of the sympathy from the lawyer. But for the lawyer, it's like, it's an everyday thing. So that's not a really big thing. So I think there's that misunderstanding or like, they don't have to understand, but there's that like that lacking, or there's this bar of from the two sides of the coin. So me having the experience from my personal experience as being a lawyer and also being a client to the lawyer. So that's exactly how I felt, that why is the lawyer, like I'm sharing such an emotional story, why is the lawyer not giving me enough empathy?
So why are you typing right now?
Yeah. Or like, why is he not giving some, some emotional reaction or like emotional support? Because I'm sharing such like important part of my life and I'm crying and you're not like, you're just like, what is it? You can't see beyond that file or the book or that case. Like, what is it? They're not humans. We'll always say lawyers are not humans. And also, I think because of this, there's tendency amongst people to say that lawyers just want money. They're after the money. So it's not, I wouldn't say that's true. There are lawyers who wants to earn money, but not all lawyers are like that. But as to get back to your question, I think I'd like to point out two things. One is that there's two sides of the coin, from the client's perspective and the lawyer's perspective, that they both are thinking from two different perspectives and in a very different emotional sphere when they are handling their cases. And no one goes to the lawyer in a good time. Most of the time, 99% of the time, no one would go to a lawyer unless they're in trouble. So that's why I think people might dislike, or as you say, they might hate lawyers.
That's a very thought out and very considered answer. So I thank you for that. And once again, I thank you so much for your time tonight and your conversation, your thoughts. I thought this was a really powerful episode, and I really think that your story and your message is really going to resonate with a lot of people.
And thank you so much, Zach, for having me in your session and giving me the opportunity to share relevant parts of my life and experiences. If anyone gets help from it, I'll feel great.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you again, and thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next time. Sweet. I'm not just gonna say this. I think that was our smoothest one so far. That was awesome. Also, I want to give you a hug. That was incredible. That was a really good episode. Thank you very much.